Yo, listen up, guys. If you're one of those who made it out of a bad place or a bad situation in your past, then it is very likely that you feel some type of way when you're reminded that there were others like you who did not make it out just like you did. Now, for those who grew up in posh neighborhoods and probably drank tea with their neighbors, you might not be able to relate. But for some of us, there's a reason why we avoid certain places or seeing certain people from our past. And it has nothing to do with security. Nah, the reason is different. It's guilt, survivor's guilt. What is survivor's guilt and what has it got to do with you? Let's talk about it on the pod. My name is Boomsha and you're tuned in to the Purple Pill podcast. Now, let's get into it. So, what is survivor's guilt? Well, survivor's guilt has been defined as that feeling people feel after having survived a traumatic or tragic incident where many others did not survive. It's that feeling that you somehow did something wrong for surviving while others didn't, or that you could have done more to help other people survive. Now that's on the base level. On a deeper or broader scale, right? Survivor's guilt is that feeling that makes us avoid certain places or people that remind us of certain experiences in our past. These are experiences or situations we would rather not recollect. Now, I'm not talking breakfast. Everybody's been served breakfast at one time or the other, and we learn to move past that. But survivor's guilt is way deeper than that. Now, when we're confronted by such reminders, we usually ignore or pretend they do not exist, but deep inside, we know they do, and we feel guilty about it. That's survivor's guilt. I remember going back to the hood where I grew up and having mixed feelings. Basically, what I was experiencing was a full range of emotions, from happiness to sadness, to anger, to shame, to nostalgia, all rolled up into one. It felt like I was revisiting a crime scene that I had helped to create. It was both strange and familiar at the same time. At that time, I couldn't put a finger on what it was exactly I was feeling. But in retrospect, looking back, I finally get it. What I was feeling was survivor's guilt, period. Hey, but wait, don't get me wrong. I'm super grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for where I've been and where I am right now. But there are certain places and experiences I would rather not be reminded again. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So if you felt that same feeling I felt, there's a name for it. That feeling is survivor's guilt. I mean, have you ever stumbled across an old acquaintance or colleague who seems stuck in the same cycle of life that you were once trapped in but since moved past? If you did, you probably felt two emotions. One, guilt. Two, fear. Guilt that somehow you made it out of that situation while they didn't. And fear that if you hung around them long enough, you just might get sucked back into that same cycle. And so you smile to hide your embarrassment as they accuse you of having abandoned them, but deep in your heart, you know it's going to be a very long time before they see you again. That feeling is survivor's guilt. But here's the thing, running away does not ease survivor's guilt. Denying or suppressing your past does not change who you used to be or invalidate who you have now become. In fact, it leads to the opposite. What it does is that it creates internal conflict between who you were and who you have become, and leads to a loss of identity. So knowing that denying or pretending that it does not exist does not solve the issue of survivor's guilt, then how do we properly process survivor's guilt and move past it? Well, that's the topic for another pod. But for what it is worth, remember that guilt is not always a negative emotion. And on the flip side, guilt does not always lead to positive outcomes. So at the end of the day, life is not red or blue, it's purple.